So you're in for a real treat tonight. Bobby did a really nice job. It took him pretty much all day, but nonetheless, he did a really nice job of putting together this presentation tonight. So
what happened here? All of a sudden, I'm out of the picture.
You got to move over. You got to get in front of the camera this way.
Oh, I go the
opposite.
opposite.
Oh, no, the opposite way. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I went that way, and it's going this way.
It's a mirror image. It's like looking in the.
You guys don't know because you're looking at this. It looks really weird here. We said, look at it.
All right. Anywho.
All right. When are we ready? What time is it?
Let's get this act rolling. All right. Go ahead.
Welcome to our open clubhouse at Quick Fix Golf. Where our topic this evening is good books for the ages. Good books. It's golf books.
You want to start that over?
No. It's Wednesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, December 4th, 2024. And you're going to have some fun tonight. Go ahead, next slide. Are you running the slides?
Yep.
And there he is, Darren DeMaile. He's nominated for everything except dog catcher. and there I am, rated number 2 in Havana because there's only one other pro in the whole island, so I must be at least number 2. And there's Tom Trzynski.
Are you saying it right?
I think so. Trzynski.
Is it German?
Teacher of the Year nominee, California, 1923. 1923. I didn't know he was that old. The hell did you get him for?
Well, beggars can't be choosers.
We got a lot of senior citizens.
We needed a new baker, and seasoned bakers are hard to come by.
Oh, Tommy's wonderful. Tom, say hello out there, partner. You got a microphone? He don't want to say hello. He's leaving.
There he goes.
Tom.
Yes, sir.
Welcome aboard, buddy.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Darren wow, what a magic act. Darren just disappeared. That's cool.
I wish I could just do that. Go like this and he disappears.
He did.
But I tell you what, as everybody's listening, Tom, I've had a chance to spend a little time with him and meet him and look at his golf bag of tricks that he has. And I tell you what, this is a seasoned, well-informed teaching golf professional. He's the real deal.
Yep.
And we're proud to have you with us. I knew everything was good because when Darren says, I got a guy who's got more credentials than I have.
Because I'm older.
Yeah, well, I'm older. I don't have any credentials. What are you doing? You just lost the page.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay, next.
I want to
page.
make sure everybody saw Tom.
Thank you.
Tom's the one that puts black marks all over your glove.
Yes, I do.
Put a black mark on your glove. Did you tell me you wanted some money for a new glove?
Yeah.
I use it all the time now.
But what is it called? What was it called?
I forget what you called it.
The magic black dot. The magic black dot.
Oh, okay.
The magic black dots.
That's right.
Sounds like the name of a band.
Yeah.
The magic black dots. Get down.
I just know when I don't see it, I'm doing it wrong.
That's right. When you see it, you're doing it right.
Here's Srinivasa Ladi, our connection in India. We are very, very fortunate to have met up with Srini. He's a great guy, a wonderful man.
Absolutely.
And he's been very successful. And why he's hanging out with us is beyond understanding whatsoever. But we just got flat lucky.
It's karma on his end. He must have did something wrong. So
because he is right on the edge of the envelope with technology, and technology is where it's at today. So our new app is finally up and running, and we owe it all to him.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so much more technology that we can put into it that AI stuff.
We've only scratched the office, scratched the surface. Scratch the office.
Scratch your back.
I gotta take another pill. Up the dosage. And Tea Time Golf Pass. Here's our promo code: Quick Fix Golf -10. You get 10% off. I tell you what, anybody who plays golf, especially if they play a lot of public golf, I'd never like to join a private country club because I'm tired of playing the same golf course all the time, over and over and over and over again. With this, you got 1,000 golf courses you can play.
There's a ton. All up and down, kind of the
and
East
some of them are
Coast.
as much as 50% off every time you play, so you get to play twice as much.
Yeah, and that seems to be the thing nowadays with, who gets the best rate, how you get the best rate, and they're going to do it for you. They do all the work.
And now they have it on their phone, just like we're doing, in the form of an app. So you just have to show your phone when you go into the pro shop. You don't have to worry about whether you got the book, you carried the book, you didn't have the book, they didn't mark in the book, no more book. But they still have the book, they'll give you the book, but you'd rather have it on your phone. And of course, when you want to work on your golf game, we're the home of the free lesson. There's nothing like having one free shot to sort of try it first to see if you like it, see if it works for you, without any obligation whatsoever. Just get out your cell phone, download the app, upload your video. We'll do the complete analysis, send it back.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day about this, and they're like, "Well, I have to go up the range and do it." No, you do right in your backyard. You can do it in your living room. It doesn't matter.
Wait till they see Thomas Rickey. I mean, that is the most amazing before and after I've ever seen.
For sure.
I mean, this guy looked
and
like...
that's not movie tricks or trick photography. No. That's the real deal.
They don't have that in Havana. That's too high technology for trick photography. Well, we'll start off with the first book, which is 6 Days to Better Golf. You probably have never heard of this book. You've probably heard of the other two books, which are Ben Hogan. Okay, that's what Tom has to say. Here's the book. And this has a special connection for me because Dick Farley, who's the author of the book, was the one that got me my first real, head professional job, director of golf job. And that's a funny story we got to tell. And what happened was I was an assistant pro at a golf course called Fontainebleau Golf Course in Miami. And I was an assistant pro making nothing. And the one advantage I had is Bill Melhorn was there as the teaching professional. And I was getting free lessons from Bill Melhorn. So, which he was always happy to do because he wanted the staff to all play the way he says you got to play. So I was learning, and all of a sudden, this guy, Dick Farley, comes in town in Miami. And he was looking for a golf pro that could speak Spanish. Because they had a golf course in Spain that the guy who was running, the director of golf there, was an American guy that didn't get along with the Spaniards. They didn't speak any Spanish. Plus, he just didn't understand the mentality, So he went to a cocktail party, and who was there but Dick Clark? Not Dick Clark. Steve Clark. I always call Dick the Dick Clark of golf because he always looked the same no matter how old he was. But anyway, he was at a cocktail party, and Steve and I used to play golf all the time. His son and I were real close. So he said, "Oh, you want to talk to Lopez?" So then he goes to see another guy, Hal Fleming, and Flimbo. We used to call him Flimbo. He was the one who ran the parade for Miami, the New Year's Day.
Rose Bowl?
No, the New Year's Day parade. Miami used to have this big New Year's Day parade. Flimbo says, "Oh, you got to talk to Lopez." So he says, "Well, you come highly recommended." I said, "Oh, well, thank you." He says, "Come to my hotel room. I want to do an interview." I said, "Fine." So I go there, and I figured I'm not going to get the job. I'm 22 years old. I'm just an assistant pro. I don't know anything about being director of golf or anything.
Or you don't know how to speak Spanish.
No, right. So the last question he asked me, he goes, "Well, you speak Spanish, right?" I said, "Yeah, with a name like Lopez. What do you think?" He said, "Okay." I couldn't speak any Spanish. So the next thing I know, 2 weeks later, I get this telex. Remember the old telex machines? This was 1972. And he said, "You got the job. Get yourself a ticket, and you'll be reimbursed when you get there." And all my friends said, "You're stupid. You put out money for a ticket." I had $158 in my pocket. That's all I had. After paying for the ticket, that's all I had. I got on the plane, and I got there, and right from the airport, I knew I was in trouble because when I had to talk to the taxi driver, and I'm trying to tell him where I wanted to go, and he wasn't understanding me. They said, "I'm in trouble here." So I got to the hotel, and the guy that hired me was John Burgos. Wasn't there. He was on a trip. So nobody knew I was coming. Nobody knew who I was. I got $158 in my pocket. And I said, "Is you sure this Juan Burgos works here?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "No, that's the guy. So give me a hotel key." So I just signed for everything with not knowing I could be able to pay it or not. Luckily, once John Burgos got there, he just took the tab with no problem. So that's how I got
like
started.
a scene out of Seinfeld where George he's got the job, but
Unbelievable.
the boss isn't there.
I think, what do I got to lose? I'm 22 years old. I'm just a stupid assistant pro. I mean, what the hell? I got a chance to get a job in Spain. And then 3 months later, they had the World Cup there. And who's there? Jack Nicklaus, Johnny Miller, Gary Player, Roberto Di Vincenzo. And I'm meeting all these guys. Of which you know what happened with Jack. I pissed him off right off the bat.
Yep.
It went hard. So anyway, let's go to the next. Here's the first slide. This is a book that Dick made with Harry Ovitz called 6 Days to Better Golf. And even Darren here was impressed with some of the stuff that was in the book. This is the stance. He says he keeps the ball in the same place all the time. Well, you've probably heard in most cases people say move the ball back in your stance as you get the higher the clubs, like 8 or 9 iron wedge, whatever. And then Dick does move the driver. Well, you see that second line on that left heel right there. That's his driver ball. So he moves the driver a little further forward than he does all the irons, but he puts all the irons on the same spot. Now, what do you think of that?
I'm a proponent of that. However, when Dick wrote this book, you have to understand that the golf ball was completely different. You know, prior 2000 after, it changes a little bit. However, I do believe that, you know, there's 2 ball positions, one for a ball that's on the ground, one for a ball that's teed up. And but it that changed with the golf ball depending on where it was in relationship to your body. But he's right on for where the ball was back in the 70s.
The thing is, I disagree because I say, if you ask me, say, where was your ball position? Where should that be? I say, I don't know who made the clubs, because how the sole of the golf club is designed in a lot of shorter irons, like 8, 9 and wedge, they're designed to get to the ground sooner because the club's steeper, because the shaft's steeper. So you got to move the ball back in your stance. Although in a sense, you're moving it back in your stance when you move your foot closer. The ball's closer to your right foot than it was on the driver, for instance.
Right, and the picture here is a relationship with footwork. And I think the ball position should be more upper body. But going back to the club moving steeper or shallower, measurements nowadays have anything from a fairway wood to a wedge within 2 degrees. So, I mean,
How can you do that if you got a wedge to 64-degree lie angle and you got a driver to 55-degree lie angle?
Because it's measured on angle of attack. And if you're measuring angle of attack, average for, you know, let's use the women's tour because that's more relatable,
Right.
is about 4 or 5 degrees down with
Are you
the
saying that
wedge.
just because of Jamie?
No. I think it's relatable for most people.
All
We
right.
can't relate to the men. None of us can. But my point is that on the average for the women's tour, which is relatable, it's about 4 to 5 degrees down with a wedge, and with a fairway wood hybrid, it's about 3 to 2. So
All right,
that's
smarty
my
pants.
point there. All right, let's move on.
You got all the measurements.
This is a good one here. I like this.
Now he shows them what it says. Picture B. I see this all the time. And this book was from what? It's 1977. And this is, what year is this?
I don't know.
2024, right? So I see this every day. Almost every single day I see this, where people roll the club, especially if they have a weak grip in the right hand. They're for sure going to be prone for rolling the club open. And when you do, now you've got a long ways to go to get it back to square again at impact. And they can't get there in time. So they slice.
Yeah, it's what I call the windshield wiper effect. Imagine your windshield wipers going like this, and you're going to time it up perfectly where you get this way.
There you go.
You got to get it perfectly square. But you're so right. We got to minimize the timing of that. And
Well, then, example C you see there is the reverse, where somebody hinges palm down, which I like better because I'd
For
rather
sure.
be shut than open.
for sure.
But that's a little too much in the other direction. Now, if we go to the next slide, you'll see what causes it. Now you look at the top of the backswing and you see picture B, club face is closed. Picture C, the club face is open. Ben Hogan said, if you don't know where your club face is, you can't play golf. So if you don't know where your club face is, you better find out. Either get out your cell phone and download the app, upload your
sure.
video, and let us take a look at it. Then you got 2 things to find out. Where is the club face? And then how did it get there in the first place? What did you do? Did you roll? Did you hinge the wrong way? What caused you to get to that position? Because you can't just fix that. You got to fix what caused the problem in the first place.
Right. And we want you to understand what causes the problem so you can teach yourself, right?
Everybody wants to teach themselves.
It's a do-it-yourselfer
Exactly.
kid is what we're trying to.
It's like being able to do it yourself with somebody to help you.
Mhm.
Your big brother's helping you out. Make a shortcut with it. To the process of elimination, you can try so many things, and then you're so frustrated after the point of trying 8 different things and none of it works. When you go to somebody like us and just say, "What am I doing? This is what you're doing. And
Give
here's what you
yourself
want to
the
do."
agony.
There
I
you go.
agree.
Now you go ahead and explain this one because you were so high on this picture when you saw it.
I don't remember this picture.
You don't remember this picture?
Obviously it has to do with something of the direction the club is moving and not necessarily where the face is pointing.
Well, he's hitting a fade in a draw.
Right. And you can see and my problem with this picture is that it only shows the feet. The feet are only a small component, and it'll probably be the last component.
Yeah, but he had big feet.
Okay. You know what they say about big feet? They need big shoes. But really, it's more the shoulders that are kind of dictating the direction the club is moving. You want the feet and the hips and the knees and all that stuff to kind of add up and be in alignment, but the shoulders are the primary thing that you want to get right here, and they direct the motion that the club is moving, whether it's down, up, right, left. And for most people, they're with their body in the top example, not the bottom example. And it's a marriage, and we all know about marriage. It's a combination of the path and where the face is pointing. And that's how you kind of control where the ball's going.
Right. Club face, club path, club face, club path, club face, club path.
Yep.
All right, so let's move on to the next book. This book, I've probably read at least 455 kabillion times. I've been reading this book since I was 10 years old, and I'm 74 now, I hate to admit. And this book was built, was copyrighted in what, 1947? 57, thank you. The other one, the next book is 47.
May I say something here?
Yes.
It's funny what you were just talking about the Dick Farley book, like how we love the takeaways, right? And when you go into 5 lessons, Hogan's telling you to do that. Weaken your grip, roll your forearms, cup your wrist at the top.
Oh, Tom's got an excellent point. Let's back up to that.
What Darren said is exactly right. What the bodies do. So every single day, people come to the lesson. They are Hogan. They roll it. They have weak grips, and they cup it at the top. They've already been Hogan. The difference, of course, what Darren said, how the body reacts. The slicer, he just turns. The player who can draw the ball from those positions, like Hogan could, his body was in a completely different position.
Well, Hogan had a hook, had a bad hook.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it was bad. It was chronic. It was chronic.
Well, whatever you want to call it.
So Hogan's book is written how to stop hooking, basically.
Right.
And if you follow his arm alignments, you're going to slice like crazy. unless you know what he did on the downswing.
Well, I went to a PGA meeting one time, and it was Butch's. I think it's one of his younger brothers was the guy speaking, Butch Harmon. And his dad, Butch's dad, used to be good friends with Hogan. And Hogan used to practice.
I wouldn't say good friends. They were 1-1. That they, I lived with John Harmon for a number of years, and right there at Seminole, and got to experience it all. And if you look at some of the old Hogan pictures, you will see Butch in the gallery in the background. Nobody knows it unless you can point it out and say, "Oh, that's Butch," but he's there all the time. But people don't realize it. That's Butch in the gallery.
Well, they said his dad said that Hogan's ruined more golfers than anybody else on the planet.
Oh, there's no doubt. Yeah, there's no doubt.
For exactly what Tom is saying.
Yeah.
Because they put themselves in such a weak position. But if you weren't in a really, really, really strong position in the first place, the weak was bringing you back to where you ought to be.
Yeah.
And you got to really unload on that right hand at impact, which he says in his book, he hits the ball with both hands as hard as he can. So
and
thank you, Tom.
And he could, because his face was always tending to be open, so he could release it early and hard, and the ball wasn't going to go left very far.
One of the things that I know how Nicklaus grew up and how he learned to play the game. I don't really know much about how Hogan learned to play the game. I know Nicklaus, he for 2 years he had to keep his feet together, and his arms and hands were the primary source. But I would imagine Hogan somewhere along the lines there where. It'd be interesting to see if we can figure it out.
One of the things, he looked where he was from, living in the hard pan of Texas. I mean, he had to learn to get that leading those hands forward no matter what. You can't bluff it off the dirt.
Like Trevino had the Bo's left wrist.
You can't have any flip if you're playing off dirt.
You had to trap
learn it.
Oh,
Yeah.
which, by the way, we picked up your wedge here. You had a wedge sitting here, the equalizer from the Hogan.
Mm,
And I set that thing down, and you're right. I could make a hole in the carpet real easy if you didn't watch out.
yeah.
And I gave it to Darren. Let him try it. Darren, what did you think of it?
Like you said, I think we need new carpet.
Well, you messed up one of the. There you go. Okay. All right. Now moving on from that. Does anybody understand that? Or you have any questions? Anybody has any questions? Just raise your hand, and we'll have like a little hand come up that says you raised your hand. In case you.
Our moderator will let us know in the other room.
There we go. All right. Now, this one is of all the pictures and all the things that are in there. I think this is one that I refer to lots of times because, again, a lot of people that think they have to transfer their weight, they have to go over to the left foot before they hit the ball. And Hogan explains in his book that he's got like a rubber band that's hooked to the wall and it's hooked to his hip. When he turns his hip, he stretches the band, the rubber. Well, it isn't a rubber band. What would you call that? A
Bungee.
bungee. Well, it's not awfully thick for a bungee. Well, whatever the hell it is, it's hooked to the wall. So when he turns his hips, he stretches it to the wall, and then it snaps him back to the wall real quick.
May I say something here also?
You go right ahead.
Look at his shoulders versus his hips. There's the magic. His hips are wide open, his shoulders still closed. That's how he gets his draws. They're not.
Yep. And Tom's absolutely right there.
You talk about the tilt in the shoulders on the.
No, the what you would call the, I hate to use the word X factor because Jim McLean and I are not friends, but
You're not friends? I thought it's on your speed dial. I got a picture with him.
I know you do.
I got a picture with him.
It's a good picture of you, not of him.
I held my nose while I was.
Anywho, yeah, it's the relationship between where the shoulders are and the hips are. But Tom's absolutely right there. But you know, we're trying to get our students to keep those shoulders quiet and get the golf club moving first.
All right, let's go to the next one. Here we go. Now, this is another thing that I think is helpful. Again, because most of the times we see slicers. Most of the times we see people steep. Most of the time we see people that are open. And unfortunately, the very first picture, the one that's sort of light, there you can't see his hand like you can in the book. You can see how his hand is hinged. But if you look at the second hand, you can see the palm is facing us right now. And when he throws the ball, the palm is facing the wall. So there's a rotation of the forearms. The forearms turn the hands don't turn the forearms.
And this a great illustration too by Anthony Ravioli.
Ravioli, ¿qué te pasa?
Ravioli did all the pictures in the book. Great artist. And they're spot on with the way that the pictures are. But yeah, I mean, anything kind of sidearm like this is great, but you know, we're trying to get our students to get the right arm out the top of the left to square the face up. So this is definitely a slicer's position here, but we'd like people to do that.
He rotates his forearm.
I know, but it's too late.
Well, it's too late for most people. We
That's
want to
what
do
I'm
it.
saying,
We
yeah.
want to do it earlier.
Yep, for sure.
You can't be too skinny, too rich, or turn your hand over too early.
Everything in moderation, including moderation.
Well, I never did that.
That's what Kid Rock says. But
Now look at this versus what we saw with Dick Farley. He kept his driver in the same place where Dick Farley had his driver, just a little bit, a couple inches ahead of the.
so we're talking 57 versus 77, right?
Right.
Equipment has evolved a little bit in those 20 years.
Are you kidding me? Tom's got clubs that's still from that age that he's playing with.
I see him over there in the corner. Look at all the dust on them.
They're beautiful clubs.
But yeah, I mean, like I was saying earlier, it's all about the ball, the equipment, how it's changed over the years. Because, you know, people weren't wrong back then. It was just depending on the ball. And we can't replicate that nowadays unless we build equipment and balls that were made back then. And they don't do it. And balls lose their elasticity over the years.
Now, as your right foot keeps moving closer and closer as you get to the wedge, from driver to wedge, in a sense, isn't the ball going further back on your stance? In a sense,
It's not. Well, once again, it depends on how you look at it.
To your eye.
To your eye, absolutely. It's an illusion, right? And then that's the way Nicholas would always say.
This whole freaking game was an illusion.
Because what you see in this picture, no, it's a good point. What you see in this picture, which foot is moving? it's not the left foot, it's the right foot that's moving.
It's like basketball.
Exactly. But in relationship to your upper body, it's not moving, but the right foot is. So now all of a sudden, if you look at the last footprint, it looks like it's way forward in your stance, but it's not in relationship to your shoulder line. And that's what Jack would say it.
Well, here's where DeChambeau has an argument to say his clubs are all the same length. You don't have to deal with this.
This is true. And I
Puts the ball in
think
the same place.
we were talking about this earlier. I think you have a good argument of the way clubs need to go nowadays or going forward with the starting at a 7-iron, having some hybrids.
Well, looking
and
at
call
Freddie
it a day.
Couples, look at Freddie
Right, that's what I'm
Couples.
saying.
So if you have a 7, 8, and 9 wedge that are all the same length, then maybe your gap wedge and your sand wedge will be a little shorter, because that's really hard to have a sand wedge that's as long as a 7-iron. Because the head, the head is so heavy. Of course, it wouldn't be, and it said they would all be 273 grams, which is the weight of the head, where a typical wedge would weigh maybe 330. But it's
But
shorter.
you know what? You look at Freddie Couples' club head speed, and let's just not related to the women's tour. It's club head speed, and Freddie Couples right now has the club head speed of girls on the women's tour there. So it's all about the club head speed there, and most of our students need to adapt this approach. But manufacturers don't want you to know this. They want you to buy more clubs. So when I sell a set of clubs, a custom fit one, we do Tour Edge here. It's maybe 9, 10 clubs at the most.
You don't need as many clubs.
No.
This is.
Nope.
Especially a 3-iron, you don't need that for sure.
No.
Now here's Ben Hogan's first book, which is Power Golf. And here's a really neat thing I noticed on the front of it. It says 75 cents.
Let me see.
75 cents.
Where is it?
There it is, right there, 75 cents.
Oh no.
75 cents.
75 cents.
And listen to this, you can get freight if you want to have it shipped to you for 10 cents.
10
Says right
cents
here.
it shipped you?
You simply send retail price, local sales tax, if any, plus 10 cents to cover mailing and handling. Goes for each book you wanted. 10 cents.
It smells like it's 10 cents.
Can you imagine that? All the pages are sort of yellowed out and whatever, but I've had this since I was a little kid. And I put this picture on purpose because look at the top of his backswing. And you've always talked about, and I agree with you, how you need longer backswing. People talk about having the club at horizontal, and they're missing yardage if they don't get the club back further.
Yeah, for sure. And the club in his hand is a driver. I'm assuming here, and then that's where it needs to be. You have a couple of different swings, and that's what the book talks about, right? You have or at least maybe that was what Farley was saying, right? When you're hitting a driver, you're going at it 110%, and then
Right.
when you get to the irons, you're backing off it quite a bit, and that's when I was working at the Bears Club, and Bronny Baird was one of my friends down there, and he had played with Tiger the first time, and I said, well, what was it like playing with him? Because Bronny was on tour, and his father Butch Baird was on tour as well, or back in the day, and he's like, well, he has a gear with his irons that we don't have. Bronny hit the ball as good as he did, but he had that extra gear when he needed it. And with the driver, you need that gear, just like Nicholas had. And, you asked Jack about distance nowadays and distance back then. Well, he says, I don't know. I never needed to hit it as farther than I needed to. And
The holes weren't as long. I mean, golf course was 6,900 yards. They thought that was a pretty big golf course. Now they're 7,800.
I have a faulty transmission. I don't have that gear.
They make pills for that, Tom.
Well, another thing too is as golfers get a little older, they figure they can't have the flexibility to get the club back that far.
Because they want to keep their left arm straight, which is the
Let the
worst.
left arm bend a little bit.
Yeah, which is the worst concept. Nobody really, at the level that we teach, can keep the left arm straight. Can't do it.
Well, Nicholas didn't keep his left arm straight. We used to look at it in a magazine, just take a ruler and put it along his shoulder like that, and you can see the left arm was bent slightly.
Yeah, like I said, it's more
It's extended.
yeah, exactly what he needed to do and versus what he had to do. So, but yeah,
But you got to get that club back to go a little extra distance. Now,
you have to.
here's
You need a longer runway.
going
I don't
back.
care. I mean, John Rahm hits it a long way, but if he wants to hit it farther,
Let's give him this tip as long as we're on distance. In Dick's book, he mentions a young man was having trouble getting any distance. He wasn't a very big kid, and his father told him to take a wedge, which is the heaviest club in the bag. He said, and put your feet together and swing the wedge as fast as you can, and do it every day. Every day, swing the club as fast as you can with your feet together. And he won a driving contest. It increased the club head speed to such a degree. And so tell us why you think that worked like that.
so two things, once you got to have education of the arms and hands. And I think that's what the weight of the golf club did. It educated your arms and hands to work properly. You had no choice but to work your arms and hands properly with that kind of weight. But secondly, the other part of that is that, when an Olympic runner wants to increase speed, they run downhill. And having a wedge would be the opposite of that. It'd be like running uphill. So you got to have a balance between the two, educate the arms and hands. And then that's missing is that they want to swing the golf club faster, so they have to have something lighter. So you have to have something heavy, you have to have something light. And that's one of the things I learned from Martin Hall, spending time around him. You got to have the counterbalance of the two, because the lighter allows you to essentially run faster because you're going downhill.
Well, like that super speed thing. You have those sticks, and one of them is 20
Yeah, but they don't
grams
have
lighter.
they don't have lighter. It's all heavier.
Is it all heavier?
Yeah, I mean, they came to me when they first came out, and I just didn't understand the concept. And then they also talked about doing it backwards, doing it left-handed, which, my time around Jacob Bowden, which we've had on the show many times, and his mentor was Mike Austin, who still holds the record for the longest drive in golf, only worked on one side. Not good for your body, obviously, but if you want to hit it a long ways, you're going to use those specific muscles, and you don't want other muscles competing with the muscles that you need. And that's another thing that the super speed golf promoted. And I don't know.
Well, do tennis players play left-handed too to keep balance if they're right-handed? I don't know. Maybe somebody knows out there. Go to the next picture.
Anyway,
Now look at this one. This isn't talked about very much, but look at his right arm is relaxed. The left arm is a little higher, which will promote getting your shoulders squared up. Because in a lot of cases, I see people with open shoulders, and that usually leads to the roll open that we talked about earlier.
for sure.
They roll the club open because their shoulders are wide open. This will get you to square your shoulders up, and it's a very simple drill to do. And you take your club and, I mean, in my day, we didn't have all these training aids. Didn't even know what training aids were. Everything that was on the golf bag was we take head covers and put them underneath our arms and swing with the head covers under our arms, or
Yeah.
stuff like that. I mean,
I like this picture. I think it's a good picture for most people that they want to get into. But, think about this. If put a driver in your hands and just hold the driver like this. So I've got my left hand is on top. My right hand is underneath. This is
and make sure you don't have something special in there.
this is a slicer's position. And if you look at the picture, it's the same thing. It's a slicer's position. Where I want to see most people is the opposite. Put your right hand on top
Here he
and your
goes.
left hand underneath.
Here he goes.
Now this is more of the player that needs to square the club face up.
Right, but you still should relax the right arm.
Well, it's that's another good question.
You don't want to like that.
No, you don't, but you don't want to hold it too loose. You look at Bryson DeChambeau, how loose is he holding the club? I don't know. But he definitely has an argument to hold it tighter.
Yeah, that's true. Well, it's so different. Remember, in our day, the prime thing was to leave it in the fairway because the rough was rough. I mean, the rough was rough. I remember the pictures of Gary Player on his hands and knees going through the rough trying to find his
Yeah.
ball.
It was different grass too back then too.
We got one more.
All right, one more.
This one I couldn't help but put in. The tip of the left shoulder to the ball in the straight line of impact.
This is all you.
You see his impact position.
Well, tell everyone where you kind of came upon this concept.
Well, I'll tell you how it happened. What happened was I was at a Hogan with the Hogan Tour. Remember, it used to be called the Hogan Tour back
Yep.
years ago. And I saw this one kid. He was 12 under going into the last day, and I'm watching him on the range, and I'm going, "This kid's got a heck of a move." I forgot his name now, but he looked funny. He was like you. He's tall. He was thinner. But anyway,
Appreciate that.
but he was a kid. He was fresh out of college or something, whatever. I'm sure you were when you were fresh out of college. So I went up to him and I said, his name was Bill something.
No, Bill McDonald was his coach.
Yeah, Bill McDonald was a coach, but his name was Bill too. And I asked him, I said, "Who's coaching you? Who's giving you orders?" He said, "Bill McDonald." I said, "Where's he at?" He said, "In Atlanta, Georgia, at the Atlanta Golf Center." I said, "Fantastic." So, and look, I'm out of the picture again.
Move over.
So I picked up the phone and I called the guy. I said, "You want to give me a lesson?" He said, "Sure." I said, so it meant nothing to me to jump in the car and drive all the way from Richmond to Atlanta for a lesson. And people complain they had to drive
Right.
too far for a lesson.
From Little River to Myrtle
Are you
Beach,
kidding
right?
me? When I was 17, when I first got my driver's license, I used to drive down to Key Largo to see Bob Toski.
Mm-hmm. Jamorty.
So anyway, I went down to take the lesson. And as I took the lesson, we were working on paths a little bit and then working on impact. And then he showed the impact and he says, "There you are, you're in the perfect spot. Tip of the left shoulder to the ball and impact in a straight line." He said, "I can show you 100 pros. They're all in the same place." I said, "Whoa, wait a minute. That makes sense." So then that's why I was willing to go take a lesson somewhere else, because you never know what you're going to find. You never know what you're going to pick up. If you pick out one good tip out of the whole thing, it's worthwhile. I think some people are unrealistic when they go to a lesson thinking they're gonna fix everything forever for the rest of your life. I just picked up that one tip. It was worth it to me. To say, well, now that's where I have to get everybody. I've got to get them in that same position, the tip of the left shoulder to the, and that's where I came up with afterwards, offsides. Because I said, if you pass the ball with your left shoulder, now you're offsides. I said, what's the downside? He said, well, if you pass the ball with your left shoulder, you can't square your hands up fast enough. You'd have to flail with the hands to square the club face up, which is very dangerous because you could snap hook it or you could not
Too
get
much
there.
timing. Sure.
Leave it to the right. So I said, you got to stay back. So then I came up with that term. I said, oh yeah, it's offsides. You got to stay back behind the ball. I figured that's the way I could explain it to somebody so they would understand it. So it's important to know that you're playing golf off your left shoulder. You're not playing golf. The club's not coming out of your nose. It's coming out of your left shoulder. And your left shoulder needs to be even with the ball when you hit the ball.
For sure.
Because we can show you 500 pros on here, and every one of them got their left shoulder right even with the ball impact. So that's where that came from. Tom, did you have anything you wanted to say?
It's hard to argue with that last one. That's what we're all striving for. Get
You
that
ever been
to
to that place, Atlantic Golf Center? You ever been there?
No, I have not.
It was a funky range, sort of like the one we have in Richmond. And it was a Korean guy who was just there with a bunch of baskets of balls. And here's this fantastic teacher. He turns out he's now moved on to be the head coach of South Carolina
Yep.
Gamecocks.
The Gamecocks.
And we've had him on the show, and he's a great guy.
Yeah, you got to check it out on our YouTube channel. Great conversation about all these different things we're talking about. Make sure you look at that. It's a great interview.
Yeah, and he said one thing which will help you. He said, tee the ball up as high as you can with the driver. He said, if you want to get rid of all these 350-yard drives you see on tour today, just take the tee away from them. Make them have to hit it off the ground.
Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it.
It's
That
the
would do it.
same thing with football. My kid was the place kicker. And in high school, they have this little block of rubber that you put the ball on top of to kick a field goal. And the last game we played in high school, I went over and I grabbed it. I said, that's mine now. You can't use that ever again. Because when you get to college, it has to be
yeah,
on
there
the
you
ground.
go. That's
And
great. That's a good point.
He immediately lost 10 yards.
That's
just like
a good
that.
conversation right there. I like it.
He lost 10 yards just like that. He had to get it back. Any other questions?
Yeah,
Anybody?
let's open up the mics here. If our moderator will open the mics up here. Oh, you got to open up your own mics. I'm
Get open up
sorry.
your own mics.
You were just lectured there.
Anybody got some questions? How about you, Jamie?
I do have a question, actually.
Good.
I'm struggling a lot with my driver right now, and I've never struggled with my driver as much as I am. And it's been about probably about a year, on off. So you're talking about your shoulder being off sides, and you're saying to keep your left shoulder even with the ball. When someone tells you to clear your left side, are you still even with the golf ball at that point, or are you?
Oh God.
Go ahead. You want to do this? Or you want me to do it?
No, go ahead. I got my ideas, and I'm sure Tom does as well. But go ahead.
Well, you're saying that when you clear your left hip, wouldn't that put you off sides? Is that what
Yeah.
you're trying to?
Correct.
No, the reverse. Is if you're actually clearing the left hip, it's transferring weight to your left foot that might get you off sides, or it's moving laterally. But if you're clearing your left hip properly, like the Hogan picture that we showed you here tonight, then your hip, I say the hips, I say this is how they should feel. On the backswing, the right cheek of your fanny is going towards your left heel. On the downswing, the left cheek of your fanny is going towards your right heel. Notice I said fanny just for your benefit.
You could use butt.
So on the downswing, that left cheek of your butt is going to your right heel. It's going backwards. You're going to feel like you're actually going backwards. That's why you see most of the players, their head actually backs up a little bit on the downswing.
I think it's go ahead, Tom.
It's a lot to do with upper and lower. We have two halves of the body. They work separately. They don't work together. Your shoulders, your left hip and your left shoulder do not work together. Most people, when they turn their left hip, they turn their left shoulder, which pulls it in front of the ball. They're very, very different. The lower half can move, the upper half moves later. There's a split-second delay. That's easy to say, hard to do, but you have to learn to keep your upper body behind the ball. Your lower body can turn as fast and as hard as it wants, as long as your upper body doesn't go with it.
I gotcha. All right, that makes sense.
Right, but Tiger, I've got videos of him when he was just out of college, and videos after Butch started working with him, and Butch shut down his hips like a lot. His hips used to be extremely fast in college, which is probably why he hit it so far, but he hit it so crooked.
But Jamie, do us a favor. Send us what you're doing. We want to see what you're doing. I mean, download the app. Send us what you're doing. We want to see it.
Okay.
It's free.
It is free.
It's at least free for
here's the
her.
magic word for a woman. It's on sale. It's on sale.
Moderator, shut that off.
Hey, just to give Darren some props on that, I couldn't get my driver to not fade. I mean, easy to fade and get it in the fairway, but I was fading too much, and Darren, because you come through the ball, that's all you learn, right? And then Darren would show me that picture of get back, come back, and basically when I started moving my head back, my body back on it, the toe would come around and square it up. It's really nice. It
Yeah,
feels
absolutely.
solid that way.
Yeah, direct relationship there. Absolutely right, Nate. For sure.
Well, if you buy a set of clubs like Kmart, the old Kmart golf clubs, and you get a driver, the face is like 3 or 4 degrees closed. Isn't it? Is it 3 or 4 degrees?
They want you to hit better shots.
Then you look at a tour player, and if he's having the club set up, he wants it 1 or 2 degrees open, because he's rotating much quicker than you are. He wants that thing to be open so he doesn't hook it, because they don't want anything left.
Yep.
Nothing going to the left.
All right. Any other questions? Who haven't we talked to? Robin, Larry, got any thoughts? Anyone else?
I guess we'll call it a night. Hope you learned something tonight.
No, it was good. You did a great job with the pictures, and you should have seen him at the printer earlier with scanning these pictures from the book.
No, here's the worst
It
part.
was
That'd have been a good video.
it was that exactly. We should have recorded that.
Well, here was the thing. What happened was last week, I don't know why, but I started thinking of Dick Farley, and Dick Farley meant a lot to me. He did a lot for me, and I felt bad that I didn't get a chance to see him before he died. And excuse me, but so I was going to call his partner there.
Yep.
What the hell is his name?
It was.
Anyway,
Yeah.
he's got a partner
And
there.
he's dead too.
And I told him he's dead. I was going to talk to him to say, what happened, when he died. Turned out he's dead too. I said, I'm the only one that's still alive. So why? I have no idea.
You're a Cuban.
I have no idea. But he was a great man, a great person to know. And Rick McCord, that's who it was. Rick
There you
McCord.
go.
Rick McCord was his right hand man. If you notice all those commercials about the hula hoop, the big giant white thing that they were selling, that was Rick McCord. He was selling that thing, and turned out he was dead. So, like I said, everybody we're talking to is dead. So we can't ask them what they said in the book, but we could ask Tom. He's probably close to being dead. So
1926.
1923.
Hey, Bobby,
Yeah.
Darren, watching Bobby trying to make copies like that was like watching one of the golfers at the driving range trying to figure out their own golf swing.
Right. And we have a nice copier. It's top notch.
Yeah, we have, of course, we have a good copier. You got to have a good copier. All right,
But anyway,
Dan.
appreciate your tuning in. And
And
we'll see you next week. We're going to do one more before the
I
holidays.
remember my daughter that you gave her some putting lessons. She is an assistant club pro now. Oh, wow. Who was that? Is that
Can
Robin
you-
Morales?
Leanne, can you enlarge that? Thank you.
That's Robin.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
daughter, she is an assistant club pro in West Palm Beach.
yeah,
So she's in the high rent district.
yeah. Let me see. She's
What,
right
what,
here.
what,
Say hi
yeah,
to
what-
Is
Bobby.
she right there? Hey, how are you?
she's
How
in
are
the
you,
camera.
Bobby?
Wow, she came out really pretty. She looks like her mom, I guess.
Yes, absolutely.
So you're an assistant pro there. How do you like it?
Oh, it's great. I love it.
What course are you working at?
I'm over at the Park West Palm, actually.
So, say that again.
The Park West Palm.
Ah, she's at the park
Which one
with
is that?
David Cessna and
Oh,
Jack
David
Luna.
Cessna. Oh,
And
Yeah,
what
he-
are you
he knows.
teaching golf there? Or what are you doing there?
So I'm mostly teaching golf out there, actually, from after school programs to teaching Title IX kids to doing our ladies league clinics as well. A little bit of everything, really.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah, we well, at least I do. I know everyone down there with I worked for Druga for many years, and
it's a par 3 course, isn't it?
no, the park. It's in
the
West
par-
Palm.
Oh, the West Palm Beach.
Yep.
But he's building a par 3 out there too.
No.
He's not?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Don't listen to me.
But that's great. How in the park, it's got so many different things going on there. It's how's it working out? Is the teaching center, is it built yet, or?
Oh, it was already built the moment that we opened the facility. So it's state of the art, from a robot green on there to having TrackMan to having pretty much cameras in every single corner of the bays on there.
Ooh.
It's really snazzy and fancy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Fancy
Good for
schmancy you are, huh? Fancy schmancy you are. Don't remember where you came from. Oye, mire, muchacho, ven para acá. Vamos a arreglar el green.
Well,
Vamos a
that's
cortar la
great.
hierba. We're going to cut the grass.
That's such a special place, and you're so lucky to be there with the people that are there and the investors that you have. It's just
And remember, you were
That's-
lucky because you had good parents too. That's always
there
important.
you go. They give Robin.
I don't know about that. That's in spite of the parents.
Well, if you see
But what
Jack,
Bobby said about a part 3 is because they have an 18-hole golf course and they have a part 3 also there.
Oh,
and caddies, it's phenomenal. I know we've talked about this with David Cessna, but say hi to Jack when you see him for me,
Oh,
And,
absolutely.
and tell him you had a good time tonight with us. So, but I actually sent him an email today about an article that was done on us for our remote lessons.
Yep.
But yeah,
They're
say hi to
remote.
Jack. The remote, the
They're
very
remote,
remote,
all right.
from the moon.
hello, Paul.
But Robin, can you drop
I'm not
her
gonna do-
contact info in the chat box there? I'd love to follow up with this. Do
Yes.
And it's good to see you. I'm glad everything's turned out good
that? Yeah,
for you.
that's such an awesome spot. That is great.
Well, let's call it up. We can't top that one.
No,